She turned around on the bed to avoid the light that came from the window. She embraced the cushion she had set aside during her nap and kicked the sheet until releasing her feet from under it. "Are you awake already?" he said, appearing at the door of the bedroom. "Almost," she whispered. She could have slept forever. He came in, sat on the edge of the bed. It squeaked. "Could you prepare some tea? Please put the water on and I'll prepare it." "Bad mood?" She turned around again towards the light climbing from the window. That light reminded her that there was activity out of her bed and out of her house. "I'm tired." "You took a 2-hour nap," she repeated with a sigh. "I'm tired." He went to the kitchen and she could hear the noise of the water running into the kettle and the sound of the match lighting. Then he turned the television on and she heard a dialogue in English and the laughter of the studio audience. Soon after, the kettle began to whistle. "The water's ready," he warned. She stretched out on the bed, then sat up, still clutching the cushion in her arms. The continued kettle whistled. She pressed the cushion strongly against her chest. "Please turn that off." The whistling stopped. Thank heaven, she thought. It was going to drive me crazy. She looked under her bed for her slippers and stood up. She went to the bathroom, washed her face. "I'll take a shower later," she thought. She walked in the heavy steps toward the kitchen. He was watching a sitcom, laughing quietly from time to time. She asked, "What kind of tea?" "Mint," he answered without looking at her. She poured 2 cups and sat close to him, fixing her eyes on the screen. "I bought a lottery ticket today." "What?" he asked absentmindedly. Did she not answer? "When's the draw?" "Tomorrow, 2 million." "But they take a lot out of it for taxes. You don't believe that you're going to win 2 million, do you?" He took a sip of tea, making a slurper noise, and then, since nothing bothered him that he slurps, she asked herself, at the beginning she hadn't even noticed it. Soon she became aware of it, and now it bothered her terribly, exasperated her. Poor man. It's not his fault. He had always been making noise when drinking tea. He had been in noise for past 20 years. "Please stop making that noise when you're drinking." He looked at her for some seconds, surprised, and whispered, "Are you in a bad mood?" "I'm depressed." He continued watching television. After some minutes, he laughed again, and echoing the laughs in the studio. Why did he have to be like that? Why do things have to change that much? "I've been depressed for some days," she reminded him and herself. The sitcom finished. She took the empty cups to the sink. He switched the channel and she sat down again next to him. It was a documentary on a place by the sea, a kind of fisherman's town. It was a gorgeous place, she thought. She could live there. It was cold there. People were wearing black thick coats and scarves, and they were trying to protect themselves from the wind. She would give anything to be walking next to the sea, feeling cold, and later she would have a cup of hot coffee with cinnamon. Yes, she could live that way. It would be a wood house like the one she was seeing on the screen by the sea, and she would have her violin and some musical scores. On a sunny day, she would sit next to the window and play the violin. How long had it been since playing anything at all? Centuries. On cold days, she would bake some bread or drink some coffee in the kitchen, reading something. She would take handcrafted cups she had bought at the Uruguay with her. Those cups would go well in a new kitchen by the sea in the cold weather. He surely was not going to miss the cups. He had never paid any attention to objects in the house except for some records. Perhaps she would take some records with her too. He's not going to miss any jazz records, but there was she going to play them. They had only one record player. Television, yes, she could take the little one thing they had in their bedroom, but that would be the point of having TV set in place. He switched the channel again, which just was going to show the proper wooden pier of the town. She was about to protest, but she realized that it didn't have enough energy for that. Instead, she started to examine the kitchen carefully, evaluating each watercolor on the wall, each shelf, each spice box, the plants, the pots. She liked the copper pots. Then she started to think about how the kitchen would look if she took everything away. Empty nails on the walls with the rectangular traces of dust, the faded out paint shaping the objects that used to be there, and things rearranged on the shelves. He would die, but nobody dies for that reason. She tried to convince herself, but she felt sadder. He switched the channel again and put on a soccer game. She lit a cigarette. Still depressed? She did not answer. Then I'd rather not speak to you, he decided. When you're like this, it's better not to talk to you. Why? Why what? Why is it better not to talk to me? She insisted. He did not answer. She almost begged. I want to know why it's better. Because you're going to say things that are going to hurt me. Poor man, she thought. He's scared. At least that was the most sincere thing that they had said to themselves in a long time. She stood up with a sigh, washed the cups, put them on the dry cloth, then opened the cupboard and checked if there was any flour left. Would you like me to make you some lemon cookies? Great, he said, smiling. Communication is the key to any relationship, and once you stop doing it effectively, then the relationship becomes stale and crumbles.